I went from Pennsylvania all the way to Seattle, Washington.
Same with the king crown. King crown will come to both.
We traveled all the way from Pennsylvania to Seattle, Washington in a Ford Fusion and a Mini Cooper with my brother, his girlfriend, and my mom. And the reason we did this is because my brother is actually going to grad school in Seattle, so he's going to be living there for 5 years, and we live in Pennsylvania. That's where we grew up. So we had to drive not only his car, but also everything that he owns in his car to his new apartment in Seattle, Washington. And my brother's girlfriend actually got a new job in Seattle as well. So she is going to be moving over there later with him, but she packed up her car as much as she could, which is a Mini Cooper. And we drove both of those across the country. So both of them were two very small cars that were packed to the brim, and my brother and his girlfriend drove the Mini Cooper and my mom and I drove the Ford Fusion. But I basically wanted to explain our itinerary, places we've stopped along the way, how long we spent there, and just kind of give you an idea of what our journey was like. So starting off from the Philadelphia area, we had initially planned on going all the way to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that would have been about a 9-hour drive without stopping. But we actually ended up pushing on a little bit further to Gary, Indiana, which is pretty close to the border of Illinois. So it was perfect because not only did we get to stop at Indiana Dunes National Park, which is along Lake Michigan, but we also got to wake up early and beat most of the Chicago morning traffic, which was fantastic. So we drove through Chicago and we actually stopped in Wisconsin, and it was this small town of Janesville, I believe is the name of it. And we did get some Wisconsin cheese there. And then we ended up at Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And let me just say, we loved our time in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's a smaller city, but the falls are beautiful, and then there's a river that runs through the city, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's a river walk. There were tons of like cute restaurants and bars and fun places to eat. So I definitely recommend stopping there. We all really enjoyed our time there. So then from Sioux Falls, we woke up bright and early once again and drove over to the Badlands. So that drive itself was about 4 hours. Once again, all these are without stopping. And I forgot to mention that the total time from Gary, Indiana to Sioux Falls is about 9 hours as well. And then from, like I said, waking up early, Sioux Falls, we then went to the Badlands National Park, which was about a 4-hour drive. And then from there, we drove to Casper, Wyoming. So that whole trip, once again, was 9 hours. But that is with the stop at Badlands National Park. If you were to just go straight, it would be a bit under 9 hours. So like I said, we woke up bright and early, and then from Sioux Falls, we went to our first stop, which is Badlands National Park. And that was about 4 hours. We spent quite a bit of time there, actually. We did go on a little bit of a hike. We didn't stay overnight at all, but that was our first stop. And then from the Badlands, we went to Mount Rushmore. And Mount Rushmore is about an hour away from the Badlands. And let me just say, we didn't spend a lot of time at Mount Rushmore. We literally hopped out of the car, ran up, took our pictures, looked at the monument for a little bit, and then turned around and left. And I feel like it's kind of a once and done kind of place. I don't really have any desire to go back there. I feel like there's not really much else I would have wanted to do there. However, I will say there's the Black Hills National Forest that's near there, and that whole area was really pretty, but I don't know that I would have like wanted to spend more time in Mount Rushmore. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments if you've been to Mount Rushmore. I definitely am happy that we went, but I don't feel like it was a highlight of the trip. I don't know. And then from Mount Rushmore, we went to Casper, Wyoming, and we spent the night in Casper, Wyoming. So once again, that whole trip, including all of our stops, was 9 hours and 22 minutes. But obviously it took longer than that because we were going out and making stops. So that whole stretch there was a very long day. But definitely worth it. The Badlands were definitely a great place to stop. I thought the Badlands were really, really cool. So then we got into the really, really exciting stuff. And that began with leaving Casper, Wyoming, once again, super early in the morning. And our first stop was at Grand Teton National Park. And this is a park that I would love to go back to and spend a bit more time in because once again, we kind of just like drove through it, pulled out, stopped, take some pictures. I don't even think we did any hiking in Grand Teton because after that we were going to Yellowstone. But from Casper, Wyoming to Grand Teton National Park is about 4 hours. So then from the Grand Tetons, we went up to the south entrance of Yellowstone and went to West Thumb. And then, and that's a geyser basin. And then we went up through Hayden Valley, which is on like the east side of Yellowstone. And then we hit up the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, and that was absolutely beautiful. And I think there's 2 points there, the Artist Point and the Inspiration Point, that we went to. And then we drove west across Yellowstone and ended up in the West Yellowstone area, but specifically in Island Park, I think it's called. Yeah, Island Park, Idaho. And the reason we went into Idaho is actually because we ended up spending the night there at this super cute glamping site. And that was something that I'm very happy that we did. It was quite the experience because we woke up and it was like 27 degrees and there was no heat in the camp site. So it was freezing, but it was a lot of fun. I wish it was a bit warmer and I'd like to go back when it's warmer, but that was a lot of fun. So that whole trip is like just about it's under 7 hours of driving, and that's without all these stops that we made. So once again, that was a very long day. I think we were driving more than 12 hours. We ended up getting to our campsite around 7 o'clock. So pretty late at night to be getting in as well. So then the next morning was actually when we spent another day in the national park. So we then drove through West Yellowstone and did the western side of the park. So we were able to do the Grand Prismatic Spring, Old Faithful, and then we drove up through Mammoth Hot Springs, and there's this really cute town that's close to the border of Montana, and it's called Lake Gardner. And we stopped there, grabbed lunch there, and then we headed up to East Glacier where we ended up spending the night there. So from Island Park all the way up to East Glacier is about 5 hours and 45 minutes. But like I said, we went down back into Yellowstone Park, so probably add an extra hour or two onto that. But that's still a lot shorter than what our normal day trips were. So then by the time we got to East Glacier, it was time for us to go to bed. We woke up in the morning and my brother and I went on our hike to Grinnell Glacier. That was our 11-mile hike. So we did that, and then we kind of just explored the loop of going to the Sun Road. We did that whole stretch. And then we did a couple of stops along the way there. So after we did our exploring of the eastern side of Glacier National Park, We then drove over to West Glacier, and that was like an hour and 20 minutes. And we ended up staying in Columbia Falls. And then we woke up the next morning and we went on another hike, and we did the Avalanche Lake hike, which starts through the Trail of Cedars, and I think that's like a mile hike. Very easy. It's all like on a boardwalk, and then it leads into the Avalanche hike, which I believe is like a 5-mile round trip hike. So but it's out and back. So we did that in the morning, and then that is when my brother, his girlfriend, and my mom and I split up. So my brother and his girlfriend really wanted to get to Seattle as soon as possible, whereas my mom and I were kind of like, we want to spend another day in Glacier National Park. So that is exactly what we did. My mom and I spent the rest of our day there in Glacier. We ended up doing another hike to the Hidden Lake Overlook, and that was like a 3.5-mile hike round trip, and that was really awesome. That one was a bit more strenuous than the Avalanche Lake hike. And then after we did that hike, we did a bit more exploring along the Going to the Sun road of like the western side of it. So we did a couple of just like the pull out overlook points there, and kind of hiked down to like different falls and things like that there in Glacier. And I have to say, Glacier National Park was my personal favorite. It was also my brother's personal favorite. And I believe it was also probably my mom's. We all really enjoyed our stay there. I mean, you just cannot put into words how absolutely breathtaking and beautiful it is there. So I definitely recommend having that on your list if you're doing a road trip. But like I said, then my mom and I were on our own. So after we spent our whole day in Glacier, we then ended up spending our evening in Whitefish, which is a super cute like ski resort town. But it was surprisingly like pretty lively even for this time of year in the summer, and it was absolutely beautiful. It's just very picturesque. It reminds you of something pulled straight out of a Hallmark movie. And we also stopped at this lake there, Whitefish Lake, which was absolutely beautiful. We drove a little bit around there before getting dinner and going to bed. So then we woke up, and from Whitefish we went to Coeur d'Alene, or Coeur d'Alene, I'm pretty sure it's Coeur d'Alene. And we actually were able to drive past Flathead Lake. So that was pretty cool to see. And I have to say that Coeur d'Alene was just absolutely amazing. It was definitely more of a younger city. There was tons of like coffee shops and breweries and bars and great places to get food. And they definitely had a bit more of like what seemed like a nightlife there. And they obviously had their waterfront with like the marina and hikes, cliff diving, places to swim. Like it was just an absolutely really cool city. I highly recommend going to Coeur d'Alene as well. And so we actually ended up spending the rest of the day and the night there in Coeur d'Alene, which I'm really happy we did because we had a bit of extra time there. And then from Coeur d'Alene, we woke up and went to our final destination of Seattle, which was about like a 4.5 to 5 hour no stop trip. So yeah, and then Seattle, we kind of did a lot of different exploring in that area. We ended up going to Mount Rainier National Park. We did some hiking in the Cascades. We did obviously exploring of downtown Seattle with the Pike's Place and the waterfront, and we went through Bellevue and Kirkland, and we went to the REI store headquarters there. We saw like the Amazon spheres. We went to like the Amazon Go stores. There was tons of really cool things to do in Seattle. Obviously we were, unpacking my brother and getting him all moved into his apartment and feeling comfortable and everything like that. So a lot of that was just spending quality time with them, and him kind of showing us around the area since he had been there before. But that was our entire itinerary for our trip. And I will obviously have a video showing you everything we've done. I might even specifically go into the national parks and explain a little bit more about what we've done. But I kind of just wanted to share our itinerary for our road trip because I think it's interesting seeing, you know, different places that people stop along the way and hearing like what their favorite things were. I really would not have changed anything that we did. I think, you know, if I had more time, obviously I would spend more time in these places, but I'm happy with everywhere we've went, and I feel like I got a great experience of the places we did go. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so you're notified when I post another video, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully with the video of our entire trip.